Hi everyone, this is Tina with Rehatch Designs, and this is actually part 5. I made a mistake in the last video and I introduced it as part 3, and it was actually part 4. So anyway, they're marked right as far as the description. I think I just got confused because there's so many parts. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and sew on our signatures today, so we'll go ahead and get going. I'm going to try and make this video a lot shorter than I did my last one. We'll just have to see how it goes. I am not going to decorate the covers or anything. I decided not to do that because I think we'll just do that in another process video. I did want to show you guys something that I was doing to the cover after I quit filming. And we're talking about affordable ways to do something. I got this at the dollar store. Excuse me. And it's metallic LA Colors liquid liner. And I just love the color. I don't know what the color is called. Metallic gold. Anyway, it comes with a really thin brush. And I like to take just a little bit of it and go around, because it's not super bright. Now you could do this with paint or anything else also, but I just wanted to show you that I got this for $1, and I guess I'm not going to do it there because it'll mess with the pearls. But you can just do that if you want to. If you want to touch up your stuff a little bit, like we could take this and maybe, I don't know, maybe go around here a little bit, you know, just to kind of make it look like it was. And I like it to look a little sloppy, like it's worn out, like it's been worn off the sides. But it makes it pop a little bit, but it's not super bright. And like I said, you could use a lot of different things to do this. You could just use paint with a thin brush. Get maybe some metallic paint. If you have embossing, you could emboss this before you're done. I don't want it to be super bright. I'm trying to make it look like it's very worn out and old, and you know, it's wearing off, basically. So anyway, I do that sometimes just to kind of give it a little pop. Anyway, I just wanted to show you that, and it dries fairly quick. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go ahead. We had picked out our pages, and we've cut everything. We're getting ready to put our signatures in. What I do when I do this is I get my signatures, I got all my pages, and then I decide what order I want things in. Also, I made a decision that I'm going to keep it at 2 signatures rather than 3, because I want us to be able to decorate our pages and not have to worry so much about bulk. So we're going to do it that way. And we'll go ahead and do the 2 signatures. You'll still get the idea of how to put them in, and if you wanted to add another one, it's really just kind of math after that. Okay, so the way I do it is, this is the front, my cover. Then I had to figure out, okay, what do I want for the first page? And I think I'm going to make it a coffee dyed page. And you want to vary your pages, so maybe the next one, and vary your heights, thing like that. Maybe I want to make that one. You know, they're plain pages, but they're 2 different, you know, colors really. And then let's say I want to put that in there. And maybe I want to put a pink one in there. Then maybe I want to go this vellum, maybe some coffee dyed. Maybe I want to put another piece of, let's see, this envelope in there. Maybe I want to put one of these in there. And remember, we had kind of divided up our pages so that we had different variations in there. So what did I do with the... Okay, so I don't know. So maybe we want to put that in there. Maybe we want to put that in there. No, actually, I think I'm going to put that there. Then that. And then I decided I was going to go ahead and put this card in there. This is just a regular card, plain card that I thought would look good in there. Put that in there. And then this is our envelope. That's the center of our signature. So let's see. I don't really want that in there upside down, so we'll go that way. So we're going to sew this in here so that later when we're done, when we do it, we'll have this closed and then we can get into it from there. So we're going to put that there. Get it all stacked up, nice and neat. This is just like the same process we did on another video, but the only difference is we're going to sew the signatures in. So then you kind of want to look at all your pages and see if they line. Oh yeah, I remember one thing I was going to do though. Let's make sure that we had a doily in both, since I'm just doing these two. Where did my other signature go to that I had? Oh, I don't know where it disappeared to. I had another one sitting around somewhere. What did I do with my other signature? Well, I guess I won't worry about that then. Okay. Anyway, so we're going to do that. Get them all stacked up. Get this where you want it. You want to make sure at this point, I always go kind of like this. No, can't do that with the envelope. I'll take it out for a minute. Go like that. Make sure my pages are down there really, I'm going to put that down in a minute. Down there pretty far. I take a clip and I go down as far as I can. Then I do the other side. It's a little crooked. This one page is a little bit crooked, so I'm going to have to move it a tiny bit. Okay. And then we're going to do this side. Well, excuse me. Do the other side. I'm sorry. I just always do opposite sides, and that way. What is going on here? Yeah, there we go. So we're going to do that. Go down as far as you can. I usually bend it to make sure it's going down as far as it can. I think that's a little crooked. I'm going to redo that for a second. If after you do it, you see your pages are looking kind of crooked, then just start over again. Like I said, they're not going to be perfect, but that's okay because we're going to put lace on the ends of our signatures right here, and that will help us disguise that. Got that down. Oops, too far. There we go. I usually never have this much problem, but of course I am going to have it now. I'm going to get this one on there. Like I said, I always usually do the opposites. That way they're holding, and then I'll usually take a paper clip and go down here and hold it on that side. hold it on that side. So there we go. There's one. Now I haven't put that in, so we're going to go ahead and put it in. Let's see, where's the... Okay, is that upside down? That goes that way. So we're going to put that in. Pay attention to your orientation also. Like if you've had words and things like this and you don't want them upside down, you want to make sure that they're all going the same way. If you've got words on your part of your cover, anything, a pattern that you have to worry about the orientation, just be careful and look through all your pages and make sure that's right too, because I have certainly put stuff in and put them in upside down and had to redo it. I've put entire signatures in upside down. So okay, now I'm going to take this clip off because I think I'd rather have a paper clip in here. Of course the paper clip is there. I'm going to do it one at a time like that. I'm going to try and get this envelope in there a little bit, but if I don't, that's okay. Yeah, we got it. Okay. The reason I'm doing that is when I go put my paper in, I like to have the paper clip so that I can put my paper right on top. So I'll do that. Okay. Sometimes I just use these clips to kind of hold it down until I can secure it. This guy would work better if I did the longer part down here. I don't want to go off frame here. Here we go. So anyway, that's in like that. That's like that. Now, you can have pages sticking out a little and you can trim those off later if you'd like. I normally don't do that. This is what I do, is I will take lace, get some of our pink lace, and I will put it on the edges like this. And you usually will never even see it. And plus this will end up going in more once we sew it in. All right, so anyway, let's do that. That's one. Get the other one ready. So the one thing I did do on this that I didn't tell you about is this envelope was actually longer than our signature and sticking out of the top of our book a little bit. I cut off the top, and that's not going to matter because the way that we're going to use it is we're actually going to put paper on top of this anyway. So, okay, so let's get these pages ready. So let's just decide. Okay, so that's the way we want our cover. Put that in the front of the signature. I don't know, maybe we want to do this. And the next part, do this. You're just really trying to vary your papers and your heights and that type of thing as you go. I think maybe I'll put this in there. No, you know what? I'm going to put that there. Then I'm going to put that there. And actually, I'm going to go like this the other way. No, I guess it doesn't really matter. We'll just do it like that. Okay. Put it that way. Then I think I'm going to go like this. Then maybe this. I usually don't put two of the same papers next to each other just because I like to have that variation, but I mean it's up to you how you want to do it, but I don't usually like to do it that way. Anyway, this envelope we're going to put in and we're going to sew it in there, and then we'll cover that later. Then I'm going to put that. I'm going to put that in. And then here's our other envelope, and we're going to sew that in there. Okay, so then go like that, get it down as far as we can. Go like that. Now these papers are all even, but because you're putting these papers in your signature, excuse me, what happens is there will be a little bit of difference at the top, and that's why you don't want to overstuff your signatures, because then it'll be pretty big at the end. So that's one reason, and it's hard to get them lined up perfectly straight too when you do that. Okay, so that is going to go in there. I think this time I'm just going to do it with the paper clips to begin with. And I take those as far down as I can get them. I always go like this. I kind of make sure my papers are down there, and then I go like this. Try and catch that in there. Uh-oh, the outside's not on there. Okay. There we go. Make sure that's in there. So we've done both sides, and then I go in and again make sure you bend it and do one on each side. My paper clips are all stuck together. Okay, so those are our two signatures. We're going to put those in like that. The important thing too is you make sure you get your orientation right before you put them in, like this one. This goes that way, this goes that way. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to make a little template for us to be able to get our signatures in there straight. So our book, I have a piece of paper that is roughly the inside length of the book of how big the pages are. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and remember, this is 1.5 is how big our spine is, and it's kind of hard to tell on these soft ones with the file folder, but make sure if you want to find the middle, get your two ends together. I know it's kind of hard to tell once we've already put the lace on there, but go like that, make sure it's even, and it's already been scored there, so you'll be able to see it. So that's right down, that's the middle, and make sure you kind of go like that so you can tell when you're going to put your signatures in. But in any case, what we're doing is we're trying to put our spine in that 1.5 inches that we had. So what I do is I take a scrap piece of paper, I make sure it's the height of my signature, which I had already done, and then I go for, let me use this one, it's not folded, the width of my spine, and our spine was 1.5 inches, so I get this at right at 1.5 inches. Make sure it's straight. Okay, so this is the width of our spine. Back up here. This is the width of our spine, and the way I do this is really easy. Not a lot of measuring. Is I take this and I fold it in half and try and get it straight. Here we go. Go all the way down, make sure that's straight. You know, make sure you start out with a straight sheet of paper too. I didn't really check that, but I hope this is straight. And go all the way down. Straight. Yeah, I think that's about right. Anyway, so then what that does is that gives you the middle of your 1.5 inches. Now, if you were just going to have one signature, then you would figure out where you would want this to go in there. So you would put your markings just in the middle. But since we have two, you want to split the difference and go in between these two 3/4 of an inch. So what I do is I just take it then. Let me use my bone folder real quick. Now you can measure everything, but I think this way works pretty good. Gets a little more complicated when you have it in thirds. That's why there was another reason why I decided to go back and do just the two, so it wouldn't be as complicated first time out, not just the bulk. So then you basically do the same thing. You're going to cut your, fold this in half again. And what you end up with is a place to put one signature and then the other, and it's split exactly in half. So you'll have one here and one there. Now the other thing that I do is I fold this in half, exactly in half, and then I know from there that that's where my middle is. Okay, like I said, you could just do that all with a ruler, but I find a lot of times what I do with the ruler is I'll make my line crooked or something and it's not as exact. Usually what I do is I will take my ruler then, if it will let me pick it up, okay, and then I will go in from the top about 1.5 inches. I'll go ahead and mark. Well, I could do it 1. Now I'm going to do it 1.5. I'll do it 1.5 inches. Line that up. Where's my pencil? So I know that that is going to be, I put that all the way over there, 1.5. That is going to be where I put my holes. And I'm marking it right on the lines that I had. Okay. Now remember we folded that in the middle, so then I know that that's going to go there, and then that's going to go there. So now what we have, let me mark it darker so that y'all can see it. We have put our dots where we're going to do our 3-hole stitch. Okay. So what we'll do then is we take this, and I always take it and put it right. This is kind of why I like using the paper clips better. Oh, one other thing too is you have to decide which one is the top and the bottom. Even though we measured these and they're probably, you know, pretty on, you could be off a tiny bit, and if you don't do that, what happens is then you'll be off when you go to put it in your sew it in. You know, if you're off just even a little, it'll kind of mess it up a little bit. So anyway, this is the top. I'm going to put this in here. What I do is I will take one of these paper clips, actually, make sure this is in the middle first and line it up with the top and the bottom. Remember, we made this the same size as our pages. So we're going to put that on the top and the bottom. We'll take a paper clip. Okay, get that in there. Perfect. It's easier if you kind of go like this, because then you can just put it right in there. So that's right in the middle. to put that there. And then you're going to take the bottom. Excuse me, I have a paper clip in my mouth. And you're going to make sure that that's lined up. Got to be able to get to where you're going to put your hole. So make sure it's in the middle, not on the sides. And the thing is you're actually going to be punching holes, not on the side. This is what you're going to use for your template, for your cover. This is just for your signature. So you're actually going to put a hole right there in the middle. Okay? So you've got that all ready to go. Your papers are ready. Remember, we're not punching on the side. That's going to be later for our cover. The middle is where we're going to do the signature. So what I do then is I take my awl. I have a little kit here that I use. Get that out. I don't know what color I'm going to use today. I'll just use that one. It's already open. That. And that. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to take whatever pokey tool you have, and I usually start in the middle and poke a hole. Make sure that that hole is not going on the side but in the middle. And that's one hole. Then you're going to poke one on the bottom or the top. There's no particular order. You just need, and remember, we're not going on the side, we're going in the middle. Oops. Make sure you don't poke yourself. Now, people use like the little cradles to put this in and stuff, and you can do that, but you know, I have a We Are Memories Keeper one, and honestly really don't use it anymore because I've done enough of them that it doesn't really help me that much. So it's kind of more of a pain to get it out and use it, but you can do that. Or some people will use a big book and then place it in the middle of the book to poke. And the one thing you don't want to do is poke your finger, which I have done before. Okay, so then what I do is I will take this off. Try not to move your pages, because if you do that, then your holes are going to move. Put that on. Now you can go ahead and sew your signature now, or you can go ahead and, you know, mark your other book. But I'm going to go ahead and mark the other one so that we're kind of repeating the process. All right, so then, and this is usually how I do it anyway, so I like to do the same thing repetitively. If I'm making tags, I don't just make one. If you know, that's just kind of how I do it. For some reason it works better for me that way. So then I'm going to put that in there, make sure it's in the middle. Take that out. It's in the middle. You don't want it off to the side or anything. Put that on. And make sure your top is at the top. Your orientation is right. Like I said, it may just be the tiniest bit off. You want to make sure that this is lined up with the top. Because if you have that in the wrong spot, it'll do the same thing. It'll make it off, which I have done. Not the end of the world. You just end up having to resew your signatures in. Okay. So that's in there good. Do that. So again, we're not poking on the sides. We're just doing the middle. So we're going to poke a hole. Make sure our hole's going in the middle and not the sides. Poke a hole. And you don't have to go middle first or whatever. It really doesn't matter. You just have to make sure you poke your 3 holes. That's really all you're trying to do right now. Okay. Anyway. So, then we're going to take this paper out. I always put my paper clip back in because the more you can keep your pages together, the easier it is to sew in your signatures. Put the other one over there. Because when they start moving around, what happens is the holes start moving around and it makes it harder. Okay, so we did 2 signatures. Now we're going to do our cover. And the way we do that, now you could stop and just go ahead and sew your signatures and then put them in later, but I like to just do all the hole poking at one time. And I think if I do it this way, it makes more sense. Okay, so remember we marked top and bottom. Well, we didn't do bottom. I just figured you'd figure that out. Okay, this is a little bit smaller than your pages, but remember we made our pages purposely smaller so that they wouldn't stick out the top or whatever. So you want to kind of figure out where you want this and kind of evenly distribute the extra in there. I make sure I fold that in half, and like I said, on these you got to make sure you find the middle. So we fold it, I put it in there, and see, I don't want to put this all the way at the top because see the big gap we have there, so I kind of want to split the difference. And then I'm going to put this in there, put some paper clips, and it probably will help you. I've got a paper clip in my mouth again. Probably will help you if you kind of fold it a little bit to get that. Now see, this is getting caught in the lace, so that's not going to work well. I might use a clip for that. It might work better. I don't know. Maybe this pink one won't get caught. There we go. That works better, a little better. And then put one on the other side. I can already tell this went crooked on me. All right. Make sure I got the middle. Split the difference. All right. Use the clip so it doesn't get caught in there. I go like that just to make sure I still have the middle. No, I don't know. Here we go. So that's in the middle. Is that where I want it? I actually want this to come up a tiny, tiny bit. So is that in the middle? Make sure it's dead in the middle. I don't know. I don't think it is. I'm trying to line up this middle with the middle of this and make sure that it's exactly in the middle. Otherwise our signatures will go in there crooked. So that's what we're trying to do, which is not hard except for the fact my paper clips keep getting stuck in there. There we go. Got that. And then I usually go opposite, and you can bend it to help you get that in there. There we go. Bend it again. Make sure your middle is actually in the middle. So it is. Okay. So now what you're doing is you're not poking a hole in the middle. If you had 3 signatures, you would. You'd go 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. But we're only doing 2, and we split the difference. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to punch a hole on this side and that side, this side, that side, this side, that side. So we'll put 1 signature here and 1 signature there. So what you're going to do is you're going to poke a hole through there and 1 there. Okay. Make sure that has not moved. It's still in the middle. Through there. Turn it over. Make sure it's still in the middle. And then 1. And I'm keeping making sure that this is in the middle of the spine, because you don't want it. If you don't do that, then your signatures will be crooked. So, like I said, not the end of the world. You can fix it, but it's better not to have to go back and redo it. Okay. All right. So now I have take it off. Again, this is caught in that lace. So we have our holes in here. They're a little hard to see, but you can see them pretty good. So through the lace in here. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to, let me see what I have left on time here. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and sew our signatures, and then after that we'll sew them into the we're going to sew our signatures, and then we're going to sew them right into the cover. Now, in our last video, we just did our signatures separate and put a rubber band. This one, we're going to actually take our signatures and sew them into the spine. I always put 1, 2, 3, and then sometimes a little extra, just because I don't want to run out. I use a really big needle. For me, it's easier to get it through there and not have to worry about it falling out and line up my pages. That's your preference. I always put a paper clip on the end because I usually always pull it through if I don't, and then I have to start over. If you don't need to do, you don't need to do that. But I mean, some people just hold it with their thumb, but I don't really like to do that because it just seems to never work for me. Okay, so anyway, let me get that out of the way. Get that out of the way. Okay, so here's our threaded needle, and I didn't double knot that. I just put a little tiny, just tied it on. I always usually start in the middle. You don't have to go all the way through, and then you're going to take this and you're going to put this. Now remember, we have our holes already punched through here, and this is going to be my first signature. So I'm going to put it through the middle of the first line. There's one line of holes, another line of holes, and you can see it. It's just not very easy. Okay, so we're going to put it through there, and then in the back, and this is where it's going to get a little more difficult, you're going to have to look through the front to find your hole because it's not super easy. I can see it. I don't know if you can. It's through here. Get it. It's right through here. And then you take that, and this doesn't have to be tight yet on here, so don't worry about that. I mean, you can pull it tight, and that's one reason why I use the paper clip, because if I pull it tight, watch this, it's not going to go all the way through. If you don't have that paper clip, it goes through. Okay, so I kind of fold my signature a little bit to make sure I get that hole in there. If you don't do that, sometimes what happens is you end up punching a new hole on the side. This way, it's going to come straight through. Oh, our little envelope is not on there right. So if that happens, you just pick up the piece and put it through the hole that you've marked. Where did we put that hole? It's right there. So then that's going to go through there. And so, oh, and that's another thing. You want to make sure that your orientation, because this is the front, is on there right too, because I've actually sewn them in upside down and had to go in and take them out, but it is, and I had checked, but I wanted to bring that up because that's another thing that I've done. I was all excited, put my signature in there right, and then boom, I went, looked, and I went, oh my gosh, it's upside down. So then, what you're going to do then is you're going to come all the way to the bottom, or if you went to the bottom, you're going to go to the top. I don't know if we had a hole in there or not. I don't think we did. I think we missed it. Okay, so then you're going to take this and you're going to find your hole. I always bend it, like I said, makes it way easier. Look how easy that I found the hole. And if you lay it flat, it tends to make new holes on the side, and you're not going up the middle. So, oopsie, my thread went through there. I have to rethread my needle. Okay. Try that again. Go like that. Put it through there. Okay. So, anyway, that is how we have put it through the first 3 lines in our junk journal, in our cover. So then we take that and we're going to put that in. Let's see, where did the last? I can see the hole. I know it's hard for people to see it, but then you're putting it in your last hole. And then the last thing you're going to do is you're going to go back through your middle hole, which is right here. And I was, again, bend it. Make sure I get it in there. Now see, this is not wanting to cooperate real well. You want to try very hard not to, well, pretty much you have to not to, get through your other string, because if you do, then you can't tighten it up. Try it again. Okay, so far so good. Like I said, if you bend it, you tend to go straight in, and it's easier to get in. Yeah, I think we're in all the way. Yeah, and see, I didn't go through my thread. Like this, you don't want your needle poking through this other thread, because then you can't tighten it up after. So then you put that in. And then see how that tightens it up? It tightens up your signature at that point. Okay, so then put that in there all the way. This is usually when I untie this knot, and because I didn't do a knot, I just kind of put it in there. Get my paper clip off of there. So then I take it and I tighten it, and I usually take it and go through one more time. You want to tighten it, but not too tight, because you don't want to rip your paper, but then just go like that. Tie it off. I don't usually do more than 2 knots, but you know, it's up to you. And because this is going to be inside our envelope, I'm going to go ahead and cut these short. Okay. So now watch, when we do our envelope, get my glue out. Remember, I said this has to be in the middle, because you wouldn't be able to close it any other way. So we're going to put that there. I guess that got a little bent. No, actually, let's do it like, let's see if I can get a little bit more glue on there. I don't know why it's not sticking. Okay, so there's our envelope. I think this, put that on there. A little bit of glue on there. So Anyway, that created our envelope in the middle. Okay. So that's our first signature. So then we're going to go ahead and do the second one. Put the top on this. It's one thing about if you get the art glitter glue is that you have to put that top on with the needle, because if you don't, you can wind up not being able to get any glue out. Now, I have had that happen where it's dry and I just soak it in hot water for a while. I've even used kind of alcohol to soak it in to open it. But anyway, so there's your first signature. And it doesn't matter. You could have started with the back and then put this one in. It's just whatever your preference is. Okay, so then let's do this one. Make sure everything's in there nice and tight. Okay, our orientation is this way. This is where it needs to be. So we're going to go ahead and take our thread. Oh, and I save all these little pieces of thread because whenever I'm doing those buttons, I take little pieces like that don't have thread and do that, because I like the thread a little bit thicker. Twine's too big, and this is perfect. And it's very, very easy to thread. So I always save those. And I have like a little thing on my desk that I just kind of keep threads and pieces of lace and stuff like that. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and I always put a little extra. And then use my big old giant needle. You don't need a needle this big, but I like it because it's just easier to work with for me. You can do whatever, you feel comfortable with. Take my paper clip, tie it on there. Okay, so we're going to start. I'm going to go through the middle. You bend it so you're not going through the side. It should go right in there. And then you're going to put this in your signature. Find the middle hole. That's the middle hole. I know it's probably hard for you to see, but I can see it pretty easily, so you'd be able to. And then go through here. My paper clip got caught on something. All right, so then after that, you can go through the top or the bottom. There's no set formula. Either way is going to work because you're going to end up hitting them all anyway. I can see my hole. You probably can't, but you go through your hole in the back. Make sure you have this bent and go up. It's usually you can find the hole pretty easily. Okay, so there's not a hole there. I'm going to take this paper clip off. There we go. Okay. So that's going to go through here. Then you're going to go all the way to the top or the bottom, depending upon where you started. And I go through here. Keep it bent. See, if I go flat, it's going to end up making a new hole. I always bend it, and you can pretty much see that the hole all the way through. Then you're going to go through your hole. Now we could have not decorated the outside, and it would have made it probably easier to see the holes, and then we could have covered them, covered up our signature strings, but I'm going to do that later. But that's something for future reference. You could go ahead and do that last. To me, I don't know. I like doing the cover on mine and then adding the signature later, because I guess the cover for me is kind of gets me going as far as what I want to do on the rest of the journal. So anyway, that's what I do, but you could have done it that way too, and it might have been easier for you to see. But I mean, I can see the holes just fine. So All right, anyway, so now we've gone through the top and the bottom and the middle once, and then you always go to the middle a second time. And the trick with that, that's the only really tricky part, is to not go through. Let me see. Oh, good. I did not go through there. You don't want to hit your other string and go through it, because then you won't. What'll happen is you'll go to tighten it and it won't tighten. And if that happens, that means you hit the string, and that means you got to go back through the middle and undo it and re-put it in there. Undo your little knot, and that's what's good. This is waxed thread that I bought, and I bought it very inexpensively through Amazon. So anyway, I should have done that with the needle. It makes it easier, but I always make sure that I take my thread through and it goes through both sides, because that way I can tighten my strings up, make sure it's tight all the way through. That's important because you want your signatures to be in there really tight. And then tie, I don't know, I usually just do 2 knots. I think with this thread that it's plenty strong. And then cut it. Take your paper clips off. And so you have then tied in your 2 signatures. We're going to go ahead and do this envelope. Remember, I told you it would have to be in the middle. Remember, if you had put another piece of paper here, then it would be in the middle. Like, let's say, for instance, this is a piece of paper because I don't have one handy. Then you wouldn't be able to do your envelope. So that's why we did it that way. Okay, so then get our glue. We're going to do our envelope. Let's see. Get that on there good. Okay. I went a little bit too far out, didn't I? On that one. I think we'll be okay though. Okay, so there's our envelope, and I'll make a closure for it later, but that's in the middle of your signature. So there we go. Take that paper clip off. Okay, so now what happens, if you look, your signatures are in there even because you made your template. You've got a little room on top right here. A little room on the bottom. You've got room on the sides. The only other thing is, usually what I would do is before I had sewn in the signatures, I would have go ahead and put my lace on here and sew it on. But what I'm going to do real quick is I'm just going to put it, the lace that I want to use, I'm just going to put it in there and glue it on. So I'm going to do that really quick. Do that. I ordered some more of this stuff, and I found it on Amazon where you get, I think it was 4 of them, which is good because I use it a lot. But anyway, okay, so I meant to do this here. I'm going to use some of this lace, but I don't want it this thick, so I'm going to cut it in half. Hopefully I can get it down the middle pretty good. I know I have other lace that's thinner like this, but I don't want to bother looking for it. Anyway, I always usually put lace on the top of the signatures for one reason. Actually, 2 reasons. It looks good, and it also helps if your pages are sticking out a little bit. So that's just another beginner tip. Okay. So you put that there. I'll do it on the last one. Usually what I do is I put the same lace on the front and back of each signature, and then I'll put a different lace on the next one. Get right more to the bottom. All right, so as you can see, what that does is it kind of helps if your pages are not exactly lined up straight, which I kind of don't like them that way anyway. But and then that was our Walmart lace. You know, I have a lot more different kinds of laces, but I thought I would use stuff that we were already using and we already had, that we already bought to do this journal. And I realize not everyone is going to have the same blouse I have or whatever. It's just the concept of using something that you already have, or that you can thrift maybe if that wasn't your style and you don't have that. Okay, this is just some lace again that I bought at the dollar store. Put that on the back. Getting to the bottom. All right. Let me get that. Gosh, these scissors are terrible. Anyway, I have a ton of different pair of scissors, and somehow I always misplace them. Okay, so anyway, then we are done. As far as sewing in her signatures, I would normally decorate this and sew it before I sew them in, but I didn't do that simply because of the fact that I wanted to get to the point where we were sewing in the signatures, and then I figured decorating is your own personal preference. I am going to do some decorating in this, but I'm going to just do that as a separate video. So thank you for joining me, and we will go back at some point and decorate. Thank you.